So today I have these intuitive abstract paintings that I've been doing, and here's a little series of horse paintings I did, and I've been doing them in watercolor and gouache, and they're really fun. It's like a very mindful process. And this one is gouache. This one is the Shin Han Gouache that I demoed the other day on my channel. And these two, this one is like a student grade watercolor. And this one is my St. Petersburg, which is a little bit more vibrant. So these are really fun to do. And I just do a basic drawing first. And then I just create a design, and then I do a series of washes over the design, and it's a really fun process. It's very mindful, very relaxing, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I'm gonna hop inside now and show you how to get started with it. Meet inside. So the first thing I would do is have two pieces of paper and a pencil, and I'm going to draw with a dark pencil, which I normally would not do. I'm using charcoal just so you can see how I would do this. I would use something the same size, and I would probably, if I was going to use like something to cut a silhouette with, I would use cardstock for that, and then plan it out on a piece of watercolor paper, either in your sketchbook or on 140 pound. I use 140 pound for these smaller paintings, and that's the size I usually, or the weight of paper I usually like to paint on. So, unless I'm painting right in the sketchbook, and actually in my sketchbook, this is a watercolor sketchbook, and it is 140 pound. So, I like to plan, I do like to plan for an odd number. So it can be 3, it could be 7, it could be 9, you know, it's just a rule in art. It's always better to have an odd number, you know. So I did 3 in mine, and I like to have a little bit of a plan first. I mean, and some of them I did a little differently. So this one, you know, the horses are here. I kind of did I like a little diagonal movement, so I planned that in, and I'll show you how I did that. And again, I'm using a darker pencil than I would have, and I cut the paper just across this way. And then I did, because I wanted to plan to have diagonal movement, I cut the paper into 4 pieces, but I wanted the pieces to be kind of equal in size, and I staggered them. So it doesn't matter if there's 2 this way and 1 here, or 2 this way. I don't know. 2 here and 1 here, or 2 here and 1 here. If I'm doing 3, you could of course have more. You can do 5 or 7 or 9. And so if I were going to just do a shape or something like a star, I would just make a size that would fit right in this, or a shape that would fit in this box, right? And I would just do, now if you're good at freehand drawing, you could always just draw them, and by drawing them they're going to all be slightly different, and that's something I really like. If you're going to just cut it out, draw it on cardstock and trace it, but then kind of alter it a little bit on your page, and you'll get a hand-drawn effect. So what I did was I drew directly into the book, or I drew directly onto the paper, and my little horses all came out, you know, they're slightly different, you know, a little bit different. Each one, they're similar but different. I really didn't want them to be all exactly the same, and I kind of wanted that randomness. So I didn't really want to, I didn't want to trace them. So I just kind of made my horse shapes, and I didn't care if they were all just slightly different, and I just, you know, just did them all just a little bit differently. Their tails are all just a little different in my drawing. Now at this point, if you're going to trace, the other thing you could do is just get a magazine image or something, and then you're just going to want to cut these out and lay them onto your watercolor paper in any arrangement that you'd like. And then the next step is just to paint a design right on top of this. Now, if you're using a like an HB pencil or an H pencil, you're going to have very faint lines, and it's not going to move when you paint over it. And then if you lose a little bit of your drawing, you could always go back in and draw it again. And so that's what we're going to see in the next clip. These will hold up as you trace them, and they're really easy to trace onto your paper. But you want to use something a little bit heavier than regular drawing paper, because just use a cardstock or even a 90-pound piece of watercolor paper, and then you can go ahead and trace that, and you'll have a nice little pattern. Okay, let's hop into the next step. So here I'm just getting started painting my design, and I'm doing an intuitive painting here. I'm really just drawing or painting a very organic design. I do not have a plan, and I'm kind of going for a mindfulness process and just, you know, letting it flow and not really thinking too much, and just picking the colors I like and the shapes that I like and layering it down. Now, you could approach this in so many different ways. So you can also come in with an idea of how you want to plan your design. So you could take inspiration from fabrics you love, from textiles and rugs, or if you love design work. And I very often pull ideas from fabrics and get inspiration from vintage fabrics and things, and I do really like to sometimes paint design like that, and it can be really helpful in your art practice if you're doing still lifes and stuff. But today, and in this particular case, I'm just playing here with color and creating just a very random organic design. But feel free, if there's something that you'd like to explore, you know, drawing from draperies or vintage fabrics or any kind of design that you love. If you go to a museum and see Rococo design, or 60s modern design, or mid-century designs that you like, they're a really great source of inspiration, and you could always start there too. So while you're doing this, you should still be able to see all of your pencil marks. coming through. Most of the time the pencil won't move. You can use a regular graphite pencil. Usually if you use a harder pencil, it's not going to smudge or move very much. If you use a colored pencil, not a watercolor pencil, but a colored pencil, that won't move very much. So you could pick a darker colored pencil, like a blue or a green one, and it will be readable through the watercolor, but it's not going to really show that much after you're done painting. So those are things that, because they're a little bit more waxy, they'll stay, and you can still see them through the painting. So those are things that you can choose to use rather than a regular pencil. I used graphite, and I did use graphite in the ones that I did. It does hide it a little better. A watercolorist's trick, if you really want to hide the pencil marks and not see them at all later, is to use a pink or red colored pencil, and that's a regular colored pencil, not a watercolor pencil, and that will completely hide your drawing later. But I usually use like a violet or red if I don't want it to show. But if I want to be able to see what I'm doing later, I'll use a blue or a green one. So if you start to lose bits of your drawing, you can always go back in and touch it up. So don't get worried. If you started with a template, you can just go in, and if you're comfortable with drawing, don't get nervous. You could always put back your drawing lines if they start to fade a little bit. So once I get the majority of the paper covered up with a design, the next step is that I start adding some mark making, and just I have a little bit of fun with the design, and I go back in and I maybe fill in some more areas, but then I'd like to just add some random marks and build the design up a little bit more, and just have fun playing with it a little bit. I'm really not thinking anything at all about the shapes I've put down right now. I'm just treating this as if the only thing I'm doing right now is creating a design. I've kind of like almost forgotten about the little horse shapes I've put down. I'm trying not to think that those are even going to be coming into play at this point. And I did lose part of this horse, so I came back in and redrew it. I tried not to freak out because that part got really dark, and so I just redrew it. It was no big deal. So that's just what you do. And there's such a huge mindfulness component of this type of work that it can be really fun to just come in and have fun just laying down all the different colors. And then I just came in and then created a color for my shapes. So there wasn't a color, exactly the color I wanted for my little horse shape, so I just mixed one up from some browns, but I wanted them a little bit more pink, so I added, I just came up with my own little color there. And all of them came out a slightly different color, which was the other thing I kind of wanted to do, was to have everything, I didn't want everything to be too matchy. I wanted everything to be slightly different colored, and not exactly the same. So I randomly mixed each one, and you know, each one had a slightly different color. So as you're finishing up painting your shapes, you don't have to paint them all the same color like I did. You really should just follow your intuition, because when you're doing this kind of a painting, you're really taking advantage of the mindfulness component of art, which is a time when we can just like let time float away, and you get into your own headspace, and you just really relax into the process. And it's more about the process of making art than making a fantastic art piece. So it's really about just really enjoying the process of putting down the colors, and you know, just kind of like creating as you did when you were a child. So really just, you know, randomly picking and not fussing over things, and nothing has to be perfect. And when we can get into that type of project where we're not so hard on ourselves, you really can really begin to enjoy the process of making art. So sometimes, you know, you might want to work on something that feels more serious, but if you do flip back and forth from abstraction and allow yourself to play a little bit, this type of work will eventually become part of how you work, and it'll become easier for you to relax and breathe and work in more of an intuitive fashion, no matter what kind of painting you're creating. Art can be very therapeutic and very mindful, and you just have to let yourself have that time to really enjoy creating it. And this is a really good project for getting there. So in this part of the video, I'm creating some very wet washes, very loose. And in watercolor, we call this a glaze. And so we're just going over certain sections of the painting with these wet washes. I'm also adding additional mark making, and just livening up the background with more texture and more design elements. I thought that the background needed some more design work and some more detailing, so I'm adding some of that in as well. And so in the top left corner, I added a light pink glaze to that corner. And then I'm going to come in and add some other colors in some of the other quadrants. I'm making a light blue glaze now with like a cerulean blue. And again, it's a very thin wash, but I'm going to go over everything. And if you do it quickly over dry paint, it's not going to make anything underneath run. But it will change the colors ever so slightly. So, but it adds a lot of interest to whatever you're going over. And here I'm adding some cadmium yellow over this next quadrant, and it just adds a little bit of a change to the colors that we're going over with that really wet wash that we're putting. And again, I'm adding more detail. If by covering it with a glaze I felt like I was losing details, I was adding details back in. Now in this last section, I'm blending up a light kind of spring green color, and I'm going over the whole thing. And the reason I'm not getting mud when I'm putting it over the reddish horse is because everything is dry. If I were to do that when that horse was wet and I was putting that color green over that color red, I would get a very muddy looking neutral color. But because everything is dry, I'm able to do that. And that's the thing you have to remember about layering colors or layering complementary colors over one another. The reason that you get mud when you're mixing colors in watercolor or any kind of paint, any medium, acrylic paint, oil paint, when wet complements or warm and cool colors touch each other, when they're wet, that is when you're going to get mud. So if we mix red and green or blue and orange or yellow and violet together, you are going to get mud. Or I like to say you're going to create a neutral, because I actually teach people to mix them intentionally, because then you're going to get neutral colors that can be really beautiful. But if you do it accidentally where you don't want it, you can make a mess. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe to my channel, because it really does help my channel grow, and I really do appreciate it so much. Thank you.